Very good morning to one and all. I am Muskan Prajapati and today I'm gonna to give you a presentation on 5 kingdom classification. My roll number is 040 and I'm from B.Tech CS group 72. Let's first find out what is the five kingdom system. The system places all the living beings in one of the five kingdoms on the basis of the criteria defined for the classification. We have so many organisms present on the earth, right from the smallest one to the biggest one. We have to differentiate between them, and therefore these five kingdoms are defined to differentiate between them on the basis of the criteria which is defined for the classification. And this photograph is given for these five kingdoms. First one is Monera, Protesta, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. The biological classification includes, as we have shown in the photo in the before slide, there are five kingdoms: Kingdom Morera, Kingdom Protesta, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae, and Kingdom Animalia. Now, before getting started with these kingdoms, we should know the criteria of classification. There are at least five criteria for this classification. We'll be starting with complexity of the cell structure. Their cell structure we can be like prokaryotic or eukaryotic. Let me define prokaryotic and eukaryotic. What are these? Prokaryotic cells do not possesses nucleus, well-defined nucleus and other organelles, whereas eukaryotic possess a well-defined nucleus membrane, cell membrane, plus other organelles like mitochondria. Coming on the next, complexity of organism. Organisms can be unicellular or multicellular. Being in unicellular, they will possess only single cell. The whole organism will be a single cell, whereas being a multicellular, the cell will be divided into multiple cells. The organism will be a cluster of these multiple cells. Now, the third criteria for the classification is their mode of nutrition. How do they make their food? Like photoatrophy, absorptive heterotrophy, or a saprophytic and injective heterotrophy are some of the mode of nutrition on which these classifications are made. Like photoatrophy is included in Plantae. Plantae do the photoatrophy. Fungi do this heterotrophy or absorptive heterotrophy, or we can say as saprophytic, whereas Animalia, organisms lying in Animalia kingdom, will do ingestive heterotrophy. Coming on the next classification criteria, that is ecologist lifestyle. The organism can be a producer or a consumer or a decomposer. On the basis of this, they will be classified. Like a producer, plant, consumer can be animals, or a decomposer can be fungi. Last criteria of this classification is cyclogenetic relationship. Cyclogenetic relationship defines if the cell structure can be changed from one to another, like being a prokaryotic, it can change to eukaryotic, or being an unicellular, it can be changed into multicellular. Based on these criteria of classifications, we have defined a different number of organisms to fall under different number of classification, like 5 classification. This is a chart shows how organism is made to realize, or how the classification is done for the organisms to lie under a specific kingdom. Like first, the organism will be checked if it has a prokaryotic cell or a eukaryotic cell. If it will be a prokaryotic cell, then it will fall under Monera kingdom. This is the first kingdom. If it is eukaryotic, then it will be again divided, or it will be again classified or checked for another two criteria, that is if it is unicellular or a multicellular. If it is unicellular, then it will be fallen under Protesta kingdom. That is the second kingdom. Now, what if the organism is multicellular? Then it will again be checked. Like if the cell is having the cell wall, or it is without the cell wall. If it is having a cell wall, then we'll again divide it into two, or we will again go check if the cell is having, if that organism perform photosynthesis or not. If it is able to perform the photosynthesis, it will fall under the kingdom Plantae. If it will not be able to perform the photosynthesis, then it will be fungi. What if that organism does not possesses the cell wall? It will fall under Animalia kingdom. Now these are the classification how the organism is classified and made to fall under certain kingdoms. We can show this how the what are the characteristics of these five kingdoms are. Like now the characteristics of these five kingdoms, like characteristics of Monera, are that the cell type will be a prokaryotic cell. The cell organization will be a unicellular, like means the Monera will be possessing only one cell. The cell wall will be present, and the mode of the nutrition is autotroph, that is photosynthesis. They perform the photosynthesis or chemosynthesis, or they can be a heterotroph as well. Example of Monera kingdom are Eubacteria, Archaea. Now, characteristics of Protista is they are eukaryotic. Except Monera, all the four remaining kingdoms are eukaryotic. The Protista will be having a unicellular. Mostly they are unicellular. They have a cell wall present in them, but this is for some organisms only. They perform the autotroph, that is photosynthesis, or heterotrophs. Now, example of Protista will be Characteristics and Den of Langelis. Now, talking about the fungi, the cell type will be of eukaryotic. They will be multicellular. Now, from this, fungi, Plantae, and Animalia are all multicellular. Only Monera and Protista are these two which are unicellular mostly. Cell wall is present in fungi. The mode of their nutrition is heterotrophic or a saprophytic, that is parasitic. An example of fungi is yeast, molds, mushroom. We all are well aware with these examples. They are fungi. Now, the kingdom Plantae have the characteristics like they are eukaryotic, they are multicellular, and cell wall is present in them. Their mode of nutrition is autotroph. That is, Plantae will always do photosynthesis process to make their food. Examples are fern, flowering plants, mosses, etc. Now, the characteristics of Animalia kingdom is that they are eukaryotic, they are multicellular, and they have a cell wall present. Cell wall is absent in them. Sorry, the cell wall is not in them. Their mode of nutrition is heterotroph, and the heterotroph, that they search for their food and or they make their food by their own, or they eat other organisms or animals. Now, the example of this Animalia kingdom is insects, birds, fishes. Now, there are certain advantages and disadvantages lied with every topic. For this happens same with this five kingdom classification as well. Advantages of this five kingdom classification is that what if that these kingdoms were not present, we would not be able to separate the prokaryotic as a special kingdom. The separation of prokaryotic is a separation kingdom for a Monera, as a prokaryotic differ from all the organisms because they possess a single cell. Okay, they do not have a well-defined nucleus. They possess a single cell and do not have a well-defined nucleus, which make them differ, which make them special. Therefore, if these classifications were not there, we will not be able to define this differentiation of organisms of prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Prokaryotic differ from all the other organisms in a genetic, cellular, reproductive, and physiological organizations. Now, fungi have never been related to plants. This was a myth that many people have, that fungi are some kind of plants only, but fungi are another kingdom and plants are another kingdom. Okay, if this classification was not there, we would not be able to define a differentiation between them. They have their own biological, psychological, and structural organization. Separation of fungi into a separate kingdom was another advantage of these five kingdom classification. Now, some of the drawbacks of these five kingdom classification are also there. Like, we have not been able to define that what virus is actually, in which kingdom it falls. Viruses have not been included in the system of classification at all. Archaeobacteria differ from all the bacteria in the structure and composition and psychology. Therefore, we're not able to define how exactly this bacteria falls in which kingdom. And the kingdom Protista has many diversities, like it is difficult to keep them together. For example, Protista contain both walled and wall-less organisms, photosynthetic and non-photosynthetic organisms, unicellular and filamentous or mycelial organisms. So it has been the most crucial kingdom which has so many diversities in them. Now, unicellular algae. These are kept in kingdom Protista, whereas algae is like a multicellular organism, which should be kept in the kingdom Plantae. Likewise, there are so many drawbacks of five kingdom of classification. The major drawbacks were Protista and of unicellular algae. Protista has so many diversities in them, as I said before. So, on the basis of this, it is being confused that how to define organism for this kingdom. And unicellular algae, which is being kept in a Protista but has some qualities of being implanted as well. Thank you so much.